Hello, everybody.
Hi, Jarrett, right?
Yep, that's me.
Hi. Look, I'm Jen Bodette.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Susan Donnelly.
Nice to meet you. Hey,
Kevin,
nice to meet you. Welcome to festivities. I think everyone's over at the Levin house.
Okay.
I think we're going to be, they're opening this up about 1 o'clock or so.
The synagogue?
Yeah, the synagogue. Okay. So, but you can go into the sukkah if you want to go check it out.
Wonderful.
Oh.
Okay. We're meeting some other
we're gonna take pictures.
family.
Okay, cool. So a lot of Zelensky's coming in.
Yeah.
We were just mushroom foraging, so I'm sure you can see the
wow.
sweat covering me right now.
Really?
This is the synagogue. This was built in 1884. And apparently this may be the first sukkah actually ever constructed here.
Really?
I'll let you guys get to looking. I'm going to run back across the house.
At least we got a drink. We got to drink the dirty ones.
If everybody at some point could just like sign on to there so we can keep in touch with everybody that's been here, it'd be great. There's basically 3 of us that take care of it now. Is Mark Fox, he's the president of the synagogue, he's over in the back.
Sit over here.
And Robin Cohn is she's the one that sends out that lovely newsletter for us. Then I'd like to thank William and Malya for just being them and actually getting all this, the whole Alliance Colony Reboot together, which is it's bringing a lot of life into the synagogue, and it's a really good project, and we're hoping that it goes really far. And for a lot of the people that don't really know about the synagogue because a lot of people are here because they have a lot of family that originated from here, so a lot of them do know about it, but some people are here for the Alliance Colony Reboot, which is to do with teaching sustainable agriculture on all these lands that surround here. So this synagogue was basically the hub of, you're going to hear a lot about the Alliance Colony. William's great-grandfather was Moses Bayek, who lived in this house across the street, and he was more like the leader that started the community through help from numerous Jewish federations. The idea for the synagogue was started in 1882. It took until about 1886 until it was totally finished. And the Alliance Colony is one of the few colonies in New Jersey that there were many, but we're one of the only that are still up and running, basically. So the whole Alliance Colony this synagogue was the hub, and the farms around were the spokes of this community. So the synagogue was a central place for people to meet, and it was also a spiritual place, and it was also a place for people to have entertainment, because in those days everyone walked around the area. So now we come to the point where the synagogue has been in use for as long as it's been created. There's always been, the synagogue has been open in one way or another. So you have over 130 years of continuous opening, with people, without people, and it's always been like a labor of love, because there's so many people from all over that are, as you'll see today, that have roots based in this colony and are spread out all over the world. And the synagogue consists of, down here was always, in the old days, all the men stayed downstairs. The upper part was for the women, and the women would, even up until a couple of years ago, we had a lot of older women in their 90s, and they insisted on, for the holidays, going up the steps and going there. And there's a third floor. If everybody can turn around, there's ancient, not ancient, but there's old Torah covers. And behind the, sounds like, behind door number 1. But over there, behind that door on the right, there's stairs that go upstairs. And in the early days, rabbis would come and travel through the different colonies. And they would actually hold the Hebrew school upstairs in that third part, and they would sleep in the synagogue as they went around. The synagogue, like I said, there's many, if you look around on the walls, we have the Gisker board with the name of a lot of the original people. This painting in the middle is the record of the original settlers. And it's all in, so many of you will find your name up there, and it's all in Yiddish. And then there's some of the families that came a couple of years after, and the original families are on this. So these are original. Everything in here is original, and nothing's ever been taken out, like the bima, everything, benches, even like some chairs, old prayer books. It's all been preserved.
My name is Malya Levin. I just wanted to briefly introduce myself and my husband, William. On my first date, William told me he was descended from the first Jewish agricultural society in North America. And I was like, what are you talking about? But then, he brought me back here, and we always thought the history was so interesting, and what a beautiful thing to have happened in the past. And slowly over our relationship, we found out that actually it's happening in the present. Jewish farming is alive and well, and is actually a burgeoning movement across the country, where young and older Jews are actually finding that living Judaism on the land in the rhythm of the agricultural cycle is a beautiful way to make it relevant to us and to the food system and the environment and so many of the current issues that are important to us, and is actually a way to live out the deepest spiritual principles today. To us, we realize this is not history. This is current, relevant concepts and ideas that we want to bring into the present, and we want to reboot for the modern era. 3 years ago, we sort of officially embarked on our journey, and it was really with the great encouragement of my father, along with other leaders in the Jewish community, the Jewish environmental community, who sort of said, you can do this, and you can be inspired by the beautiful history that Howard was just talking about, and have that history continue. It's so beautiful that we have the shul here where people pray, we have the cemetery, and how beautiful that we also can have living farming and living Jewish ritual going on as this sort of ongoing circle of life right here on this holy ground. And so that's our goal. We founded an organization, Acre, Alliance Community Reboot, and it's dedicated to fostering Jewish farm-based community here, in partnership with the synagogue, in partnership with everyone here. This is our first community event, open community event. I'm in this space. It's so moving to be here, and we just love to meet all of you and talk more about our dreams. And we hope this is the first of many times that we'll see you here. And so I'd like to now introduce my father, Arthur Kurzweil, who's going to teach us a little bit about that Jewish spirituality that informs farming and makes all of this so relevant and meaningful for all of us.
So I've been involved with Jewish genealogy for a long time. So some people say that I founded the Jewish genealogy. I was one of the people who wrote about it a lot years ago, and I still do. But I want to tell you that before I got involved in this family history and genealogy, I found this topic to be one of the most boring topics I could possibly imagine. I had no interest in family trees, and I had no interest in family history. And whenever I heard that somebody was tracing their family tree, I would think to myself, don't these people have anything better to do? Why are they doing this genealogy? I was a librarian in a library in New Jersey. I have a master's degree in library science, and here in Plainfield, New Jersey, since we are in Jersey. Plainfield, I was a reference librarian in that library. My first job out of school, and every morning, about 9 o'clock in the morning, this man, he was about 85 years old. He came over to my desk, and he would sign in to use the books downstairs. That was the system. You wanted to go downstairs, you had to sign in. So he would sign. He went downstairs. Every day about 12 noon, time for lunch, he came back upstairs and he signed out and he went home, and the next day he came again and again and again. I had no idea what this guy was doing down there, but one morning, I was 6 or 7 months into this, he apparently ran up the stairs because he was out of breath. He stood in front of my desk, and very excitedly, the guy said, I did it. I said, what did you do? He said, I just discovered that I'm related to Abraham Lincoln. I shrugged my shoulders. I think I may have said to the guy, that's very nice. And I'm sure he walked away from my desk disappointed that he had nobody to share this great, after all, he's from Abraham Lincoln, he knows the librarian. Okay. Well, a couple of months later, I went into the New York Public Library on 42nd Street and Fifth Avenue. In that building, there's a section called the Jewish Division, and it's one of the best collections of Jewish books in the world. And I went into the Jewish Division of the New York Public Library, determined to find some evidence that the town in Poland where my father told me that he was born actually existed. My father told me he was born in a town in southeastern Poland. He told me dozens of stories about this town. But I was never able to find this town on any map or any encyclopedia. This was, pre-internet, and the World Book Encyclopedia didn't have this town. The name of the town was Dobromil. So I went into the Jewish Division, and I opened up the card catalog. Some people don't remember what card catalog was. But there was a card catalog. I went to the deeds for Dobromil, and I go through the cards, and I see, to my surprise, that there's a card that says that there was a book about Dobromil that was in the library. I couldn't believe it. How could there be a book about this town? I couldn't even find the town as a doc. But I filled out this little card. If you've ever been to the library there, you got to fill out this little blue and white piece of paper and ask for your book. And so I gave it to the librarian, and she went to the back room, and 5 minutes later she comes back from the back room and she hands me a copy of a book called Memorial Book Dobromil. It was a 500-page book about the town in Poland where my father was born. I couldn't believe my eyes. 500-page book. I took the book over to a table and chair in the library. I began going through the book, and in a couple of minutes' time, I found a picture in the book of my great-grandfather.
Oh my gosh.
I was so excited with this picture that I picked up the book and I ran over to the librarian to tell her what I had found.
You did the same
She
thing.
couldn't care less.
History repeats itself.
So I know how Abe Lincoln must have felt back in my life. When I found this picture of my great-grandfather, who I was named after, in a book in the 42nd Street Library, I said to myself, I want to find out more. I figured if there can be a picture of the man who I was named after in the book in the library, there's got to be more information. So I decided I'm going to trace my family tree. And so I talked to historians, and I talked to librarians, and I talked to archivists, asking them all the same question: how can somebody who's Jewish trace their family tree? And every person who I spoke to gave me the exact same answer. They all said, it's impossible. Jews cannot trace their families, names were changed, records were destroyed, you're not going to find anything, don't waste your time, forget it. So on one side of my, just to fast forward, on one side of my family, I could trace back to the 1400s. Great. I have the names of over 150 people in my father's family who were murdered during the Holocaust. Because the records exist. It's just they have to find out where they are. And partly, I suppose, since I was trained as a librarian, I know how to do research. The other night we were talking, and I mentioned that my mother used to say, go ask Arthur, he's a librarian, he must know. And I don't know anything. But I know how to find out. I know how to find it. And I was able to go through the holes in the Swiss cheese, and I wrote this book on Jewish genealogy, and I was one of the founders of the first Jewish Genealogical Society. Today there are about 80 Jewish genealogical societies around the world. Every summer there's a conference where 1,500, 2,000 people come together, all of whom are tracing their family tree. But you know, when I found this book about Dobromil, I looked at the beginning of the book to see who wrote this book. Why would there be a book? Seriously, why would there be a 500-page book about a dot on a map? So the story is simple, that when Jews came to America, many times they formed what was called Landsmannschaften. The landsmen, the people from the same place, formed organizations. You know, and they did just what is here. They established a cemetery. The first thing you do, you establish a cemetery, an organization that established a cemetery. And it happens that there were about 800 of these town organizations in the United States, mostly in New York, that published memorial books. That there are about 800 of them that exist, town by town by town, and who would believe it that they would exist? So I opened the book to see who published it, and it said the Dobromil Society. And there was a list of 5 people who were the editors of this book. So I figured, you know, if I could track down the editors, maybe they could tell me. After all, they did this book about my father's town. So I found one of the 5 names. I called the guy who lived in the Bronx. His name was Philip Frucht. I said, hello, is this Philip Frucht? He said, yes, who are you? I said, I'm Arthur Kurzweil, and my family came from Dobromil. Are you one of the people who put together the book on Dobromil? He said, yes, I am. How can I help you? And I said, well, my family came from your town, and I wondered if you know them. And he said, what did you say your name was? And I said, my name is Arthur Kurzweil. Name is Kurzweil. And he said, no, I'm sorry, I never heard of it. And I said to him, but wait a second, my grandfather and my great-grandfather and my great-great-grandfather, they lived in this town. You must have known them. He said, what did you say your name was? I said, my name is Kurzweil. And he said, I'm sorry, I didn't know everybody. It was a small town, but I just didn't. And I'm thinking, but yeah, I said, you have to know there's even a picture of my great-grandfather in the book that you worked on. He said to me, what did you say your name was? And I said, Arthur Kurzweil. My grandfather was Yodel the Tinsmith. Yodel the Tinsmith? You're the grandson of you. Why didn't you tell me that in the first place? He then yells into his wife in the next room. He's on the phone with Yodel the Tinsmith's grandson. And he gets back on the phone and he said to me, I swear, what did you say your name was? And I said, Arthur Kurzweil. And he said, your name isn't Kurzweil, your name is Kurzweil. Now, to me, it's not such a big leap, but to him, it was a different name. And suddenly I heard the way my name was pronounced through generations and generations, and you know what the name, how my grandfather was called. So
I had the ark removed. I had the bema removed.
From over the other way, from the church.
Better than I, but there were about 7 big concrete slabs with chicken wiring and wood roofs and wells at each concrete slab. They're all torn down, and one bit of information, I think, Jared, if I'm correct, is this the property you believe belonged to your ancestors?
Yeah,